Okay, so we're going to go over what you do next after you find a property that your buyer wants to buy. So I pulled up an example here on my screen. Let's say your buyer wants to buy this property. This is the MLS for it. You are going to go ahead and copy the MLS number. First, I wanted to show you, you're going to go ahead and pull up your You're going to go ahead and pull up your TUR training folder. So I'm going to email you the link. You're going to go down to where it says buyer contract templates, buyer rep contracts. Okay, this is very important. You are going to, I'm going to pull this over here. You're going to pull up where it says, contract offer. Start out with your DA checklist, please. Go ahead and download that. You want to save that for later. Okay. So boom. I'm going to this is everything you need when you're representing a buyer. Every single thing on there you need to have checked off. Okay. Except for the lead-based paint addendum if it wasn't built prior to 1978. Okay, so downsize that. Now click the back button and go ahead and pull up the contract offer. This is your cheat sheet. I want you to follow that cheat sheet. Fernando came up with it. This is an excellent cheat sheet. So I am going to go back to my subject property that I gave me, or this is just for an example. If this would obviously be the property that your buyer is interested in making an offer on, you want to highlight and click copy the MLS number, and I'll tell you why. Because you want to go to, sorry, my picture was hiding it, add loop. Okay, so you want to paste the MLS number and wait for the property address to go up. Yep, it's this one in Katy. Continue. Select a loop. You're representing the buyer. Continue. You don't need a photo. It's creating a loop. So what I want you to do is I want you to hit view loop. These are everything you need in your file already in there for you, which is a whole lot easier. Now, it doesn't mean you need to not follow the DA checklist, because there's seller's disclosures and things on there that you won't have. You're not going to have the receipt of earnest money yet, but you need you won't fill out the DA yet. That's how we get paid. But you'll need the executed contract. That's on here. Third-party financing is on here. Seller financing is only if the seller is offering financing, which is usually not going to be the case, so you won't need that. Information about brokerage services, always. Seller's disclosures is usually on HAR. I'll show you how to find that. You will not need a receipt of earnest money yet. That comes from the title company after execution. The HOA addendum, yes, it will be on here. Your MUD should be on HAR. If it does, usually they won't have an on-site sewer. That's for homes in the country. And again, we talked about that. A buyer-tenant representation agreement, if applicable. So if you're just representing the buyer, you don't technically have to have that in your file. It's good to have, but it's not required unless it's applicable, and we'll explain that later. Information about flood hazard, you should always have that, always should have that, always should have that. And if it's a conventional loan, you should most definitely have this last thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to minimize this. We're going to use this as a cheat sheet, and we're going to go down to where it says 1 to 4 family. We're going to start here. My computer's just running a little slow. When it loads, you need to enter in the property address will already be in here. So you need to select the person, add person, full name. So let's say Johnny Doe. You need to add who he is, buyer. Add his email. John Doe at att.net. Okay, add person. And same thing if you were having another buyer, like his wife. So address is already in here. Purchase price, what do they want to offer? 200,000. Earnest money is typically 1% of the sales price. Put it, the closing date needs to be, if it's financing, it needs to be 45 days out. This is your legal description. So you need to go back to matrix and this is your legal description right here. Lot 6. Block 1 and your rest of your legal description is typically the neighborhood and the section number. So now what's important is click on this because it's going to give you the tax records and you can verify. It'll also give you the seller name, so you can have that for the contract. It's going really slow for some reason. So come on. So there's the seller's names. There's 2 sellers. There's 2 names and legal description right here. So I'm going to go back to I'm going to hit autofill. My computer's running slow because it took a minute to autofill, but there they are. You need to fill out the seller's name. They're right here. I just copy and paste. Okay. And then again, you need to go through here and fill out the contract. You need to read this entire contract front to back. Read Fernando's in the TER training folder because, and also all of these, he gives the examples and he gives you why and the reasons and what to do, but it won't make sense to you unless you read this front to back. Take a minute. It'll take you 10, 12 minutes to read this entire contract front to back. And I promise you, it will make a whole lot more sense. Then I want you to go back and use this as a cheat sheet. Okay. So buyer, seller information. This is the property information. Some of it's already pre-filled out because it pulled it from the MLS and from what we just wrote down in the autofill. Exclusions, again, what Fernando says over here. It's anything that the seller is excluding from the sale of the property. Okay. This is the list of improvements that come with the property unless stated otherwise in here. So if the seller is not conveying the refrigerator, it needs to go in here. If the seller is conveying the refrigerator, then you don't type it in there. Most of the time, I don't type anything in here because the seller, most of the time, isn't taking the fridge or other items. Sometimes they are. The fridge is a popular item they might take, but anyway. What if it's grandma's curtain rods or curtains that they just have, it's a more of a, what is a memento. So they want to keep it. So then the listing agent would say, hey, you need to make sure that's an exclusion. So that would go in there. Again, before I forget, go back to the attachments. It's going slow, but when it loads, you need to save it to your computer because you will need to add this into the transaction. So save those into the computer. They're giving you the survey. They're giving you an exclusion list. Boom. That's the list you need to type into here because they are already giving the exclusion list. They're already giving you the MUD, which is the water district notice. Their version, they want to sign their HOA, and then, but you can fill your own HOA out, and then a seller's disclosure. So all that needs to be saved to your computer. I like to save mine to an external drive in case my computer crashes. So here, go back to his cheat sheet. The down payment goes here. So if they're putting 5% down, it would be $10,000. The rest is the loan amount. And the final offer would be, it's taking a minute to load. It's going to make sure it comes up, but I don't know why it's not wanting to come up. Yes. For some reason, now it popped up. So I guess it just took a minute to load. Make sure you click that box because it is subject to financing unless it's a cash sale. Again, read Fernando's descriptions, please. Please, please, please. I just can't make this video super long or it's not going to send. So deliver to, that's the title company. So you want to ask the listing agent what title company they prefer, unless your buyer has a particular one they want to use. This is the address of the title company, 123 Main Street, Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas, whatever. The address of the title company. Earnest money is already pre-filled. Option fees are very important. Typically, sellers won't accept anything less than $250 for a 10-day right to terminate. Do not forget to fill this part out. And this part out, please. Again, Fernando states that in here. If you follow Fernando's cheat sheet, you can't lose. Seller, I don't know why it clicked that, it went off. Seller pays for title policy at, my example was select title. Again, ask the listing agent what title company they prefer. It's a quick text. Hey, what's the title company? To the listing agent. This could get complicated, but this is if you want the title policy to also basically cover the shortages in area of the survey. So Fernando says the seller can pay for that, and it's negotiable, but I agree with that. Survey, you need to follow his example. If the seller has a survey, which I believe, did I remember right? They do, because it's on the attachments. So therefore we know they have a survey. Then we need to give them 2 days to give it to us. And if it doesn't work, meaning this is an outdated survey or the title company or the lender rejects it, who pays for the survey? What did Fernando say? It's negotiable, but he's saying your buyer pays for it. I mean, okay, it's negotiable, but it just depends on the other terms of your offer. Sometimes I'll have my seller pay for it. It just depends. That's something we're going to have to learn as I continue to coach you. So buyer, let's just stick with Fernando's guide. Make sure you write in here residential use. Again, Fernando has that in there. Follow Fernando's guide for that. I can't make this video too long. Make sure you click, it is in a homeowners association. If it is in one, and it probably will be in one. Check that you did receive the seller's disclosures because you already saved it to your computer, remember, and hopefully sent it to your client already. Accept it as is condition. That doesn't mean they don't